Hello, Edmund.
If they said for season 2 you could bring in anyone you wanted to guest star, who would you want and why?
I immediately said Bruce Campbell. I would love to have Bruce Campbell come on and play. What was it? I can't remember
Eddie.
under what context it was, but somebody asked me in an interview, and I immediately said Bruce Campbell. So if you're not aware or familiar with who Bruce Campbell is,
He's Canadian.
oh, he is. Oh, he's in Evil Dead 1 and 2, and I mean he's just as far as physical comedy and his ability to say things with his body. I mean, I just think he's brilliant. So Bruce Campbell for me.
My mom.
Roger Daltrey to give Claudia some guitar lessons.
Who?
Roger Daltrey of The Who. Come on, we're in the UK, dude.
I didn't hear you. I did not hear you.
Talking about my generation.
People try and put us down.
Talking about my generation.
Just because we get around.
Talking about my generation.
Okay.
You know that's going to make it into next season now, don't you? So it'll be the Warehouse13 band and subsequent tour.
What other show would you like to be in?
Ghost Hunters.
He says that because he just guest starred on Ghost Hunters and he wants you to watch it.
Yeah, I actually did do a little. I went and we looked for the ghost of Buffalo Bill Cody. I don't know if you're familiar with who Buffalo Bill Cody is or not. He was a frontiersman of the Old West who then took his. He basically took an Old West show on the road and
I think he brought it here.
and maybe probably had brought it over here to the World's Fair. But we went and sat in the dark with infrared cameras on for about 12 hours and actually had a really great time. So mine would be Ghost Hunters.
I would love to see a Eureka crossover episode. We got to meet all those guys at Comic-Con this year, and they were such a cool group of people, and I think Claudia and Fargo would get along famously. Yeah, Eureka for me.
That's a really hard question. I have no idea. Maybe I'm going to steal Eddie's and say Ghost Hunters because I love ghosts and I actually believe in them, unlike some people sitting to my right over here.
What's your favourite scene for film?
Favorite scene from the show?
Making out with Pete.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
I would say my favorite scene from the show actually comes next week in Duped. There's a great scene between Micah and Artie.
The mirror scene.
Yeah, where Micah's trapped in the mirror, and it really kind of sets a new tone for the show, and I think that's kind of where the show really hit its stride and kind of it let the viewers know that this show is not just a show about artifacts and the quest to retrieve them, but a show about people who actually care about one another. So.
Kumbaya. Do you have a favorite scene, or should I go?
I think probably one of my favorite scenes in the show was with Michael Hogan, who was on Battlestar. He plays my father in an upcoming episode, and you kind of get to see where the toughness of my character comes from. And he's great. I really love Michael. So, yeah, I would say that would be mine.
My favorite scene to shoot was my very first scene which is the first scene you guys ever see Claudia in, when I slap the charged cuffs on Artie and sort of take the piss out of him. It was physically demanding. I remember being really nervous because I had just met Saul the day before. I walked into this show feeling brand new and sort of out of my element, but I felt so charged. The more we did it, I just felt more passionate about what we were doing, and I had a great time with Saul, and really enjoyed working with the cuffs. And when you what was that, the durational spectrometer that Pete and Micah used to click back and see what happened in the room hours before. We had to shoot all that backwards. So much fun, really long, really rewarding.
What was the audition process like?
A nightmare.
A complete and utter
absolute
horror
nightmare.
show. You gonna tell the baby bird story? Tell them the baby bird story.
All right. Cover your ears because I may use some foul language. The audition process, if there are any actors in the room, they'll tell you that the audition process is generally
Ugly.
torturous and soul bending, and this particular show was no different.
It was worse than usual for me.
When you show up to what is called the test, it's basically you show up and there's one or two other characters or two other people that are there for your same character. So they whittle it down between 1 and 2 people. Well,
There was 20.
Yeah, we showed up and there was just an entire
10
room full of Micahs and a
10
room
Petes.
full of Petes. And you just go, oh, okay, so I'm not getting this job either. As the day went on, they began to mix and match different Micahs with different Petes. And Joanne and I hadn't gone in together, so I was like, oh, she must really suck, you know, because we hadn't gone in yet together. And then they, you know, you can tell kind of who they're leaning toward, and they kind of whittled it down. And this guy had come out before me, and the director, Jace Alexander, came out, and he put his arm around this other guy, and he walked down the hall with this other guy, and I just was like, that's it. That's
Eddie
it.
lost his
That's
mind.
it. I took off my tie, I took off my jacket.
He was sweating.
I was sweaty and smelly, and I was like, you know what? I got these 2 babies at home, and their necks or their mouths are stretched. They're like 2 little birds, you know, and they're waiting for me to fly in with the worm and you know, regurgitate the worm. And I've got no worm, okay? I got no worm to give. And I went into this diatribe in the room. I was losing it. And you know, Joanne is sitting over in like the lotus position on this chair, and she was like, dude, you know, forsooth, dude, what hath be your problem? So I walked over, and she basically was like, everything's fine, dude. And just like a couple minutes later, they came back out and said, okay, now you 2 come in. And we went in, and strangely enough, you know, as an actor, you're terrified to make a mistake in the room because you really only get one chance, and if you make a mistake, that's it. And Joanne
Screwed it up.
screwed up her lines, and she was supposed to call Pete a showboat, and I
Called
think
him a showbot.
she called him a showbot, and so I started going. I was like,
Did it on.
Showbot, 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 showbot. And so then, you know, she punched me. She's like, shut up. And she punched me and then, like, knocked the wind out. I was like, ah. And then we started laughing. And Mark Stern from the network said when we walked out, he was like, that's the show.
But it doesn't end there, because I went to a Dodgers game after that, and they called me and asked us to come back the next day because they forgot to turn on the sound.
Yeah, the camera.
So
No
we had
sound.
to go back the next day and do the exact same thing.
They were like, recreate that thing that you did yesterday, the mistake. And
Hey, it was all worth it. We're here, right?
yeah.
Unfortunately, we've run out of time.